In looking at the clip that covers over the sitcom show called That 70s Show, you can see there's quite a few terms that I wish they are associated with my chapter. In this clip, we see multiple terms that are which stated in the clip. My group members before me were focusing on nonverbal communication in chapter 4. Meanwhile, my goal is to discuss listening and critical thinking in this chapter. As being a living specimen on this earth, most living things retain information or retain info by hearing sounds with their ears. In this clip, there are sounds everywhere, but when you hear a sound, it will grab your attention and make you more interested in the sound. An example of hearing is whenever Donna hears the sound that the door opened. In this clip, everyone turns their head to their attention to the door. Whenever Eric and Donna are in the van at the beginning of the clip, they were listening to Michael talking about the carnival. There are different types of listening, such as active, emphatic, and critical listening. Active listening is an involved listening with a purpose. It's shown in the clip by Donna listening to her dad when they came back from the trip. Emphatic listening with a purpose and attempting to understand another person's perspective. When Michael is talking to Steven is trying to attempt to understand and listen so they are on the same page, because Steven has a higher brain capacity and stuff Critical thinking is listening that challenges the speaker's message by evaluating its accuracy, meaningfulness, and utility. Whenever Eric is talking to his parents and is trying to make an excuse for why he was gone, he's using critical listening and thinking. There's also listening for enjoyment. It's listening that occurs in situations involving relaxing, fun, emotional, stimulating information. This is shown in the clip where Eric and Donna are listening to Michael explain about his date he had at the carnival. They asked him because something always goes wrong with Michael whenever he goes on the date, so they found enjoyment and humor out of that. My chapter over listening and critical thinking also involves different types of attention and thinking. There are just two different types of attention: selective and automatic attention. The sustained focus we give to things that are important is selective attention. In the clip, when Fez and Michael are having a conversation together, they are close friends and kind of have the same intellectual mentality as each other, so they find enjoyment in each other whenever they talk. So they give their attention to each other. Meanwhile, there is also automatic attention. Also, it's instinctive focus we give to the important things we experience in our surroundings. When Red and Kitty and Bob all walk in, all the kids' attention goes towards them. Fez and Stevens were there before them. Michael, Donna, and Eric weren't, so they knew something was about to happen. So everyone's attention goes towards the parents. Also, in this clip, there's also an example of critical thinking. Critical thinking involves analyzing the speaker, the situation, and the speaker's idea to make critical judgments about the message being presented. Critical thinking is shown in this clip where Eric is talking to his parents and is trying to come up with a reason for him being gone while they are trying to argue at the same time. My last and final term is source credibility. It's the extent to which you perceive the speaker as competent and trustworthy. An example of this would be when Eric asked Steven if he was gone or not, and Steven said that they had no clue. This is an example of him trusting him, or this is an example of Michael trusting Steven, even though Steven is not right at all. I think this was a very good clip that my group had chosen. This clip had different types of listening and critical thinking that had to deal with my chapter. It not only had a good example for just my chapter, but for the others also. Next, Jana will tell you about the interpersonal communication in this clip for chapter 6 out of our textbook. And then I'm going to also be doing the conclusion. Today we have explained each of our terms and how they apply to our YouTube clip. Discussing terms isn't always easy, but that doesn't mean it can't be done. Each of us explained what terms were in our chapters and how it related to the YouTube clip. So when you all watch the episode of That 70s Show, and just remember all the terms that we listed that went with such a tiny 4-minute clip.